Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education University, and I'm your host, Tim Bogans. Now, as you may have heard me say last week, we will be playing an episode from the archives as AOEU is closed company-wide for a couple of weeks. Our CEO has asked us to be present for ourselves, our families, and our communities, which I am thrilled to do. And I hope you're able to find some time to do the same during your winter break here. And in thinking about that theme of community, I want to use today's episode to replay a conversation between Candido Crespo and Levar Robinson about connecting with your community. This episode of the Everyday Art Room podcast was published earlier this year, and it is one of my favorites from Candido. Give it a listen.
If you've been following along, you know that I'm passionate about community aspect of education. I believe that the classroom is a studio or testing space in which we can then take all of that knowledge and put it into practice in the community. Families love to see what their children are learning, and I think we should help them show it off. Our level of engagement within the community can totally change our perspective as teachers. We gain a greater understanding of the people we serve and what's truly needed. So I reached out to someone who I admire in this regard, Levar Robinson. I'm hoping he can help us all grow a little in this aspect of teaching. This is Everyday Art Room, and I'm your host, Candido Crespo. All right, so people who have engaged with AOEU in the past through podcasts or conferences know who you are, but please share your current teacher status with us, where you're teaching, how long you've been teaching.
Okay. Well, my name is Levar Robinson, and I am middle school teacher at TAP Middle School in Cobb County in Georgia, Atlanta Metro, Title I school. And it's my 4th year in the art position there, 8th year at that school, but I'm in my 18th year of teaching.
I didn't even
with high school and special ed and science.
Yeah. Before we even move on, now I'm intrigued because I happen to think that the pre-service experience for special education teachers are probably the most in-depth teacher training programs, and I'm highly fond of all of my special education colleagues. How has that played a role in your teaching methods or your instructional methods in the art classroom?
I guess it kind of sharpens your teacher senses, just working with special needs kids and kids with different disabilities. You kind of pay attention to kids more. You're looking at the mannerism. You find out more about their background because you always want to be able to help them more. And you kind of always just looking more, I guess, and find different ways to connect because you know there's going to be some difference there. So when you get in the regular classroom, it just kind of follows, and you're doing the same thing with those kids too.
Right. I remember like all those times we sit in our professional development trainings and we're being schooled on differentiation. And I'm like, I'm going to wait till this conversation's over. I'm going to go check in with my colleagues because they've been doing this. So I'm going to just check in with them. And I'm sure that there's some strategies that I can implement easily from their classroom into mine.
Right.
So that's an interesting path. What made you go into art then? Well, you were already so many years into the career.
Well, art's always been my thing. I'm from a family of 8, and we're all artists and creatives. So it's been since I was a toddler,
Wow.
And I just came into the school system through science and special ed. I've been in the graphic design career and left there to go back into teaching at the school that I graduated from.
Oh, that's cool.
Just staying in touch with those folks, and they brought me in through that. And then somehow I just didn't go into art until the last few years with teaching.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. I have my coworker right now. I'm split between 2 buildings, and one of the ladies I share a classroom with this year, she was also a special ed teacher, and she changed after I believe 12 years. And yeah, she's a phenomenal teacher, and I'm sure it's because of that, those combined experiences, that love for art, and also being able to have experienced the other classroom before too. All right. So, but there's a reason I brought you on today, and that's because I'm very passionate about the community aspect of our profession.
Oh yeah.
And so, before we get too deep, what's your understanding of community engagement?
I guess going from both ends, getting out into the community and getting the kids out and getting with art, getting their work shown, and just letting them see how we connect to the community and bringing the community in to see what's going on, to do things with us, and just back and forth, going both ways with that.
All right. So maybe what we should do here is kind of set the tone for an example. What is an example of maybe the most recent or a recent project that you participated in or created in the community?
I guess going early in our little beginning of school events, just getting out. We had one with the city, and I kind of just went out and painted a live mural, just to be out there and be seen. Had a few of my kids come out, help out, so they're introducing parents and getting to have some conversations, and different city delegates and just everybody around. So you kind of get these conversations, people wondering who you are, where you're from, talk about that. And somebody said, well, I know somebody, I got some stuff I could send to the school, and it just goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, or what have you found to be a class benefit to you being involved in the community like that?
You get some real parental support from a lot of your tougher kids sometimes, just from being out. They might see me at a football game, basketball or something, just show up. Or, they might see me doing some live painting in the community. I'm at the food pantry, working. So just seeing your face more, you get that support, and people more willing to, back you up, whether it's either dealing with, kids and discipline, or, needing sending donations or volunteering at the school or whatever. They're more willing, I guess.
Right. All right. So I'll speak about an experience as well. Not exactly in my community, but in the neighboring community. So they're pretty tight knit. There's like families overlapping in the two towns, neighboring each other. But there was a community garden, and they asked me to do something similar, coming in and do the live mural. And that was a great opportunity to meet families outside of like parent teacher conferences or meet the teacher conferences. That's a whole different world, right?
Different
there's
vibe.
A certain type of pressure that's involved with like meet the teacher or parent teacher conference. It's almost a negative energy sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you're out in the community, those vibes are completely different. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. Totally different vibe. Just totally opposite.
Yeah. So during that time, I was just working on a live mural. I wasn't doing it alone. So every time I'd go up and do my piece, I'd walk away and I'd go and engage with the families and maybe do sidewalk chalk with some of the kids and do planting with some of the other families. And you also mentioned earlier, like just popping in at a football game. I think that's important for us to expand on for a moment, because it's an art education podcast. It's an art podcast, but also community engagement also looks very different. And you don't have to just do things that are related to art. When I was in my administrative program, it was something that one of my professors placed a lot of emphasis on. He was asking us like, hey, do you get coffee in the community that you teach in? Because that would break down immediate barriers. You walk in and people and the families who own shops and these local businesses can identify you as a teacher in their community. And it builds incredible bridges, like you said, when it comes to volunteers, if it comes to funding for projects in the classroom, or just being able to give your students a safe space when they walk out, to work on these art projects. How do you find these things like in your experience?
Oh yeah, it's just a lot of times you're showing up at these places, and adult will be like, "Oh, you're that teacher my kids been always talking about." I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Oh, this is good. but yeah, that's like an instant connection, and you start the conversations, and it just goes more positive from there. And it's just like you said, totally different from a parent teacher conference where it's just stiff in the air and you feel the negative vibe.
Oh man. And also, you said you returned to your community though, right? So you are where you grew up?
No. When I got back into teaching, that was the high school that I started out. So my first 9 years was at that high school. So that was even better coming back to that. That was a huge connection right there because I was a athletic star there, and so all the older folks knew me around, and then some of the friends, their kids end up going to school there. So it's just being known, and you doing positive things since you were there. It worked out real well for me.
Right. All right, that's excellent. Yeah. I wasn't able to do that. I wasn't able to go back home, so to say. But like I'm in that neighboring district. So when I made that comment, it's because I'm teaching in a neighboring district. So it's just a town over.
Yeah. So where I'm at now is like that in the next city over, but 10 miles.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm serving the same population. Like I said, it's the same families. It's just where their house is located, and so that gives me a pretty good upper hand in the where I am and how the students acknowledge me as one of them, as opposed to being an outsider. But this outsider concept can easily be pushed aside if teachers take the initiative to be involved. Now, we're not living in the exact perfect time to do these types of activities because we're facing a little bit of limitations. And have you done any community events like while we've been in the pandemic for the past couple of years?
Well, the biggest thing was, I guess, unplanned events was just we started serving as soon as it started. Got with a couple of guys, and one of the guys I worked with a lot, and he got with some of the community leaders, and we started serving lunches immediately when COVID started, like a couple weeks after, and it ended up carrying over to the summer and the next year. And so we got some more churches involved. So that was the first thing they seen. These folks are willing to help out, even when this is going on. They're still making sacrifices.
Right. You have another organization, or tell me about it. Roots. Expand on that for a moment. I'm blanking out for a moment, but you have. I know.
Service.
Yeah.
I'm one of the co-sponsors for our Young Men's Leadership Organization. So the other teacher I work with that, Mr. Alex Shannon, he's the head of that. And, he's got me into the community service. I do a lot with him. Most of my service and anything I do is us working together and us getting our peoples together. Great. So that's like one of my mentors in doing what I do.
Oh, okay. All right. And are you serving as a mentor to students that you currently teach as well?
Yeah, so we've got about 15 guys in our group now, and we have a young women's leadership organization too. Great. But so we'll have those guys, and then we see them going up through high school, and they still, come back and work with us some, just other kids around that. With my brothers and I, there's 6 of us brothers, so we do a lot of things, just mentoring little kids around too.
Okay. And that's all volunteer based? Are these funded programs?
All volunteer based, just giving a little time. You know how they say the best thing you can do for a kid is just show up.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree with that. So prior to the pandemic, I haven't done any. I've removed myself a little bit for the safety of my little guy. But yeah, my principal at the time had received a grant from My Brother's Keeper, and we from the Obama Initiative, and we had implemented a program in our school called Men of the Future Junior. And that the idea was that was specifically at the time for young men, and we were developing leaders. And initially, I think the program was written as a quote unquote at-risk program, but we wanted to expand that because well, we know that, it's not just about a single group of boys. Like, everybody needs guidance. And so by putting them all together, we can work with them and show them that, that the guidance is needed for everybody, and equal treatment too. I wouldn't want to be a kid that's singled out and said like, oh, it's one of those kids, instead it's like,
on it.
I don't think that would be fair to them. But I miss those days. It's been a long time since I've been able to connect with them, and I've seen the effects of them, and these students that are in college now, and reaching back out to me and asking in what capacity they can volunteer because of the value that we were able to provide them.
Right.
Have you opened your classroom to some of these students before, like to come back in or through the mentorship program?
Yeah, we've had a couple. So there's some that had a couple older brothers come through that program. I think it's been going for about 9 years now. I guess it started the year before I got at the school. And just a couple of them been like in the junior policeman program. So it was cool to see them come back and they're in the community now. They're going to be a cop and working on that. So the guys got to see, them in that capacity, and, just that some have worked, come back from college and just, talk to them a little or something, just to give them a little word.
Right. Let's talk about starting this experience, because, I don't think all teachers maybe have the upper hand that we do when we talk about coming into a community that we have some experience with already, like living close to these communities, growing up in these communities. There's some teachers who don't have that benefit, and they're coming, from totally different experiences, totally different upbringings. Let's see, like, how would they go about starting that? How would they go about becoming involved in the community?
Oh, okay. I guess, first giving a disclaimer that the route that I've taken or the route that you've taken is probably not for everybody.
Yeah, right.
You kind of growing up around, like, the kids they got that automatic connection. They just know, like, this guy's from where we from, and then they automatically know if somebody's from way on the other side or a whole different demographic, they know. So, you gotta work around it. But just, kind of getting started in it, just showing up for a few things, or, your school will have things going on. You don't have to be doing as much as we do, maybe, right. But maybe once a semester, showing up to volunteer at something where the school is directed into the community. Or if you have, like at our school, you got the young men's or young women's leadership group or beta club or something, pop in there with them. When they're doing something, we have the Pick Up Powder Springs, where different groups in different schools, every businesses, they have groups that they walk around, everybody takes a street. And so everybody's cleaned up together and kind of connecting. So something like that, just get out, see the kids, see you beside them, caring about what's going on and doing something, that's an instant connection. And parents see you getting out there, or just making it a point to say, I'm going to show up at least one football game, one basketball game, show face.
Right.
Talk to a couple of folks, something that simple. Right.
Let's see. What I'm concerned about in this regard is sometimes, I guess, depending on where somebody teaches, like contractual reasons, people will feel like, oh, I only have to stay after school, once or twice during the school year for whatever these events are, and they feel like, anything beyond that is beyond the contract.
Yeah, pushing too much. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what I want to do is I'm not an advocate for telling teachers they have to go above and beyond, but instead, I want teachers to recognize like the benefits of these things. We'll come back around to that, and I think in terms of if I was speaking to a new teacher or a teacher who's really ready to change, shake up their experience, I think working with the PTA, the parent teachers organizations and associations, is a great way to do that too, because these are parents already in the community who are looking to work with teachers. So if you show them and you tell them, hey, how can I be a part of this? Maybe as art teachers, maybe they just need some signage. And so your level of involvement is it looks different, right? You can be at the
Yeah.
events, or maybe you're just helping, develop stuff for the event.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody can play a role somewhere in something. Yeah.
Right.
Don't
So
have to be a big role.
I don't want people to fear, becoming involved. I mean, we have high expectations for our students for different things, right? We put these expectations on our students. We make them step out of their comfort zone in the projects we ask them to do, or the tasks that we ask them to do. And I think that we can do that too as teachers. Maybe it's not written there in the contract. But I think anybody with a decent understanding of humanity knows, like, hey, these people are like, especially if you're teaching in a public school, these people who are outside of your school building are paying your salary. Show them what you do inside the classroom, like celebrate it. You don't, it's not a horse and pony show, but like, you teach art, we create beautiful works of art with these students. How else could you put it on display outside of the cork strips or the display cases in the building?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also an understanding of community engagement is that there is that burden of having to create events. Now, we've already had in our discussion that we've been invited to events, but you also have to make yourself approachable, right? People aren't just going to invite you. I mean, if you're not an approachable person, it's not like somebody from the community, from any of the local organizations are going to come up to you and tell you like, hey, we would like you to be involved. So you have to put yourself in a position where, networking and connections are something that are important to you.
Yeah, you got to give a little bit of yourself. You don't have to give it all.
Right. Do you have any upcoming projects or things that you would like to do in the future?
We're getting into, our Black History Month celebration, and we're kind of theming ours on family this year, which is going to be huge. So we're thinking around something big with that with the kids, so we can, really get families celebrating, get more families in. And, we're in that community where it's, 44% Hispanic, 44% Black, and, we got some others moving in, getting that good mix of everybody. So, we want to get that crossover and just trying to think of ways to do that. Because, so you get some of these communities and niches, they just kind of stay together and you don't get that big mixer every night as much as you want. So I'm thinking around that, and then, working into the spring, become a member of the local, arts association. So getting the kids out, doing some work with that. And, when things warm up and hopefully we don't have to deal with too much with COVID and all that dies down a little bit, so we can get them out and have a little fun.
Right. So we just recently got kind of crushed because my 7th graders were invited to participate in a gallery exhibition by the local arts council and civic council. They got some funds together and approached me and said, "Hey, do you have some students that can put together an art exhibit?" I was like, "Yeah, I have 55 kids. Give me all the supplies." They gave me all the supplies for individual students. So I didn't even have to share anything with them, which was remarkable. It was the first time I ever had that kind of funding. I didn't even have to pour paint on a tray and make sure I didn't pour too much. It's just that every single student had their own set of brushes, their own paint. And we were all set. One of my exchanges with these types of outside organizations who are coming into the school is I have a very strong feeling of not wanting the students to be exploited. Right. So if you're asking my kids for something, I need to know what it is what they're going to get in exchange. And for me, it's always, how can we celebrate this with their family? And so, it was going to be an opening reception during the day, field trip. We go to the gallery space and, parents are invited. Hopefully they can make it. I know the time is a little rough, but the gallery was going to be open for a month so that those parents who weren't able to attend the opening, they can still go in the evening, because it's actually, the gallery is attached to a local mall. So It's a place that has heavy traffic already. So they were going to be able to just drop in. But, we can't take field trips because of our recent spike. Yeah. And so now I'm just trying to work a way to keep the students positive. We finished the project. They did an excellent job. And man, I'm so proud of them because I didn't even have like a lot of time to teach them painting techniques. I really just told them like, hey, like these are the materials and we're going to learn while we work. You know, if you have something in mind that you want to try, we'll try it out. But ultimately, this was a community project, you know, and we were doing exactly what I said is treating the classroom just like a studio space. You get the work done, then you move it out elsewhere, and let's take this celebration, you know, to a place where more eyes can see it.
Right. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, and the reason I want to mention is because I think that's the type of thing that some teachers are looking for. You're looking for that assistance. You're looking for the okay, for the green light, right? You need administrators who are supportive. My favorite kind of administrator is the one who lets you know, like, hey, take whatever risk you need. I'll be here to support you. Like, I'll be here to catch you. Because I think that's where our teachers can fly, you know.
Yeah, I'm finally lucky to have that these last couple of years, and it's shown a huge difference in what we're able to do.
Yeah, you feel more comfortable as a teacher that way?
Yeah. Feel like I can move, you know. Like you said, you could take a few risks, you can make moves and get on out there and do some things.
Yeah. I think that's super important. When we talk about needing better leadership, I know everybody has a different understanding of that, but for me, that's really what it is. I love the autonomy of the art classroom, right? Nobody comes and bothers me. But there's a certain drawback to that because we could get super comfortable and then we're doing exactly what we're talking about. We're becoming that hermit in the classroom where all we're doing is we're teaching in the classroom and we're not making ourselves available anywhere else. And so having that type of leadership is helpful. And in this case, no administrators were involved because of my standing with the community, right? I already have that relationship. So for me, those organizations come to me and then I go to tell my administrator like, hey, this opportunity came up. And for some other people, maybe those opportunities come to the administrator and then the administrator distributes it. And that feels a little weird sometimes too, right? Because now it's like, oh, my boss is giving me something to do.
You feel pressured to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't say no.
but that can be avoided, right? If you become the person that these organizations want to speak to.
Yeah.
Now you're alleviating yourself from those pressures.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to keep, I haven't thought about that. I'm going to have to keep your question in mind. Like, what can we do to celebrate this with the families? And I like that.
Yeah. I'm so, and it's something I didn't know right away. Of course, we constantly grow in this profession, right? This is my 15th year now. And there's tons of stuff that I'm just learning this year. There's tons of stuff that I've learned in the past 2 years, just from being connected with people, over social media, and attending conferences and being involved. There's tons of stuff I've learned from you, understanding how to do different projects and being more resourceful than ever in the classroom. And, with this community engagement thing, I want people to understand the value in it. It just goes such a long way.
Yeah.
Give me something to leave our listeners with regarding this. What have you found? What have you found to be why have you become a better teacher because of community engagement?
You feel like you got a whole army behind you, I guess, sometimes, when you're doing things like you said, you start out and you just kind of on your little island. And sometimes you feel like, man, I'm just stuck and I don't really have any backing. And I don't know if I could do this or that. And you start getting those doubts and, the negative thoughts. And once you start getting community, engagement and administrators, backing you, it just kind of builds with that positivity. Your administrators start to say, okay, this guy's doing a little something, getting a little traction. So now they want to push even more and back you even more to make sure, because it's only going to make everybody look good, right? And once that word of mouth starts going around the community, other people want to check out what the kids are doing. Some people, businesses and organizations start thinking of projects that, they'd like to get involved with you with. So it just kind of builds on itself once you get that little train rolling. You just got to get that little push off and get it going. Whatever it takes, like you said, you don't have to go in big like we might have done, but just giving a little something with the PTSA or whatever you can do and get it rolling. And it might take a little bit, but any individual will see that thing start rolling and you'll see the positivity getting bigger and bigger.
Totally. Thank you for making the time and connecting with our listeners about this. I hope there's a lot of takeaways.
I hope.
I feel like every time I talk to an art teacher about community, my understanding expands. I'm sure it's in part because of where we're all coming from. The demographics of the neighborhoods we teach in and the area will also help define community engagement. However, in talking to Levar Robinson, we gain insight in how we can become more active. It was especially cool to hear just how involved he is, and in turn, we don't always have to initiate or even host these events. We can be guests. I'd like to think as guests we can do more and experience quite a bit of joy while we're there. Your greatest resource to learn about community would be the actual community, so get out there. However, if you're looking to celebrate the community, check out the Keith Haring Community Mural and Community Skyline lessons in the Flex curriculum. There's also overlap in collaboration and engagement, so once again, episode 285 of Art Ed Radio, Looking at Ideas for Collaboration, provides a very specific look at how students can work with local businesses to create mutually beneficial experiences and works of art. I've mentioned a collaborative project between my 7th graders, the local Civic Council, and Arts Council a couple of times now. And so I promise there'll be a payoff episode where I'll discuss how it came out, how we executed, and the results. I'd like to thank Levar Robinson once again for taking the time out of his schedule to share his experience and knowledge with us. Thanks for listening to Everyday Art Room. I hope you've learned enough to want to know more. Catch you next week.